Welcome back to Self-Love Ignited. Today, I had the honor and privilege of speaking with Louise Harris. Louise came on to share her story of dyslexia, and this is a really unique conversation. It's one that I've not had before. Louise is a mom of three and an award-winning marketing communications consultant and founder of Connected Comms Society. She has nearly 20 years of experience working with some of the biggest and smallest companies, agencies, and charities who want to grow authentically with purpose. For herself, she has overcome lessons of acceptance and a need for support to be successful. Louise has an incredible story of learning she was dyslexic when she was young, getting into the corporate world, and then starting to feel like she had to hide her dyslexia, like it was holding her back, like it was keeping her from reaching her goals. And over time, with lots of support and help and mentors, she has learned to actually appreciate and harness the powers of her dyslexia. And she actually can see now that it is like a superpower. So Louise came on to share all of that with us. If you have dyslexia, if you know somebody who has dyslexia who struggles with it, this is going to be a really powerful conversation for you. My name is Katie Allen, and this is Self-Love Ignited. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Self-Love Ignited. Today on the podcast, I'm interviewing Louise Harris. Louise, welcome. I'm really happy that we are finally having this conversation. Why don't you take a moment and introduce yourself to everybody?
Yes, hello. Firstly, thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here. I've been really looking forward to this conversation for a couple of months now, so really excited to be here. So my name is Louise Harris. I am probably a busy mum of three. I have three beautiful children, two boys and a girl. I am also a marketing communications consultant, which I've been doing for about 20 years now. And on a personal level, I'm a bit of a netball geek. I love sport, love teams, love people. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell, really.
Nice. And where in the world are you joining us from?
Yeah, so I live in South London in the UK.
Okay.
I live in a place called Epsom, which I don't know if many people know, but you have the Epsom Derby, which is a strong favourite of the Queen's, God rest her soul. And I've lived here all of my life. I feel very humble and grateful to be living here as well. And today we are very lucky that it's a very sunny day, as you can see through the back of the room as well, which we don't get many of those. We've had a lovely hot summer, but usually we don't get a lot of those in the UK.
Right. Yeah. When you get a good one, appreciate it. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Appreciate them.
Yeah. So, okay. So I want to get into your story, right? So we know a little bit about what you do now, and you're a mom, but there's a lot more to you. And you and I spoke previously, so I've gotten like a smidgen, a little pinch. But this podcast is all about people just like you telling the stories of how they've gone from a place of not liking, not loving, not accepting themselves to really making that transition and learning to love and accept all that they are. So Louise, I would love for you to take us back to the beginning for you. Where did your challenges with yourself start, and what did that look like?
So I suppose my challenges started, I think, when I was at school. I was always bright enough. I was really sporty. I was really active. I feel like I've got pretty good common sense, although today when I'm tired, that can sometimes have a bit of a wobble. But anyway, but there was a few issues, I would say, at school. And I found out when I was in my teens that I had dyslexia. And I was really lucky at that time in my school that they gave me the support that I needed. So I actually dropped two subjects. In the UK, we have GCSEs. It's a sort of, when you're 16, it's the certifications that you get. And then going into things like university, I was always sort of stumbled upon. I didn't have as many GCSEs as others. But that was fine. I was always really sporty. So my sport actually really saw me through. And that really probably gave me a really good foundations when it comes to people, understanding people, bringing people together under one sort of common purpose, and tactics and all of the rest of it that it comes from actually being with a team. And so my sort of life path, I think, went into that sport arena which I loved. But then I think as I went into university, I studied sports science, and it was very sciencey. It was very, very academic. And I found actually I struggled quite a lot in university, but mainly with the coursework and the really deep academic side of things. And so I very quickly realized that what I thought was my life's path of being part of the sports scene in one way, shape or form, whether it's some sort of psychologist or some sort of team support or some sort of coach, actually became quite a challenge for that to happen.
Yeah.
But on the other side of it, I really welcomed the business side of it. So I embraced that. I embraced that because I found I was quite entrepreneurial, and at the time, what I wasn't doing is I wasn't embracing, I think, the positive strengths that come from having dyslexia. And that for me, I think you'll probably hear it as I go on in the story, is a theme that's come through, is that over time I've learned to accept them, and now I've learned to turn them around. Because when I then went into the workplace, I worked at a sports marketing agency, and I loved it. Again, it was thriving with loads of people. We were working with some amazing world-class athletes as well, and we worked hard and we played hard, and it was a brilliant place to be. And then I went into the corporate world. I transitioned into the corporate world, which was the right move for me. But then I think that's where my challenge is heightened, because I went along a career path that, as you progress levels and as you sort of went up the ranks, there was more judgment. There was everything that you do was more magnified. And so where I was going into my career, as you heard, is in marketing and communications. And what is strange is to hear, well, you've got dyslexia. How can you be in marketing communications? Because it's about writing. And so I started to keep my dyslexia like a bit of a secret. I wouldn't tell anybody about it. And so I would mask it a lot, and I would get really frustrated with myself and really, really beat myself up when I would make a really small mistake or a typo or something wasn't quite perfect.
Yeah.
And do you know what? People didn't necessarily know, and people didn't necessarily put it down to me being bad at my job. It was a human error at the end of the day. But I used to take it so personally. And I was probably my worst judgment. I was giving myself the worst judgment on myself throughout this process. But as time went on, I realized actually that there's a lot more to my role than just writing, or that actually my ability to pull a narrative together and to be able to tell a story, or be able to pull a team together and work on a campaign that has different elements of internal communication as well as marketing as partnerships, those very 3, 4, 5 dimensional projects, that is actually where my superpowers come through from having dyslexia. But at the time I didn't know that. And as I got older, as I did develop my career, I was really lucky to have a few really close mentors, which I did confide in. And as the period grew, I think I probably was able to share it a little bit more. But I did have a time when a colleague came up to me, a more senior colleague of mine, told me that I was never going to make it because I had dyslexia. And in some instances, I was called things like diamond in the rough or rough around the edges. So everyone seemed to enjoy working with me, but that was the sort of feedback that I was getting. And although it wasn't meant in a super negative way and more of a constructive criticism type way, it was, again, another opportunity for me to tell myself this story that I won't ever be that great. I won't be brilliant because I have this thing. Right. But I've come out of corporate because I wanted to do things in a different way. I wanted to do things my own way. And I feel that I am more creative. And I've had to go through, I believe, is this period of acceptance. And actually, if you turn your most vulnerable thing around, you can use it as a superpower. And I strongly believe that, because I feel like I've done that over the last couple of years. to the point whereby I run my own business. It's called Connected Comms Society, because I believe that you grow from the inside out, whether that as a person or whether that is as a company.
Yep.
It's all, everything is all connected. What you do inside reflects what happens outside and vice versa. But I've come to a period of time whereby I've accepted that I can't be perfect, and I've given myself permission to do that. And actually that's taken a long time. That's taken 15 years to do that.
Yeah.
And now when I meet people, I tell them, oh, I have dyslexia, or don't give me that. Don't give the dyslexic girl that task. And I use it as a jest sort of thing. But I've learned along the way those mechanisms that I need to do to get over that, or I've given myself permission to have a team around me that can support me, that brings an amazing other diversity of thinking that makes us only stronger together as a team, rather than feeling like it's all on me, it's my shoulders, and if I can't do it right and I'm going to blame myself and I'm going to judge myself, I'll be like, well, it's more fun when you do things together. And that's me. I'm a bit of an extrovert, as you can tell. And, you know, I like doing things together. I like collaborating. And I know that 2 heads is better than 1, regardless of if you have some challenges or not.
Yeah.
Really.
Absolutely. And I want to interrupt you because I want to ask, you glossed over, I went from beating myself up, sort of that like inner critic, like, why can't I just like get this right? Being told by your boss or like senior members of the team that you would never make it. And now you're in a place of acceptance, but how did you do it is my question. What did that look like tangibly? Like, what did that look like?
So it definitely didn't look smooth. It definitely, I think, went like this.
Yes.
And it definitely did. And it depended on what day.
Yeah.
But I think that those mentors that I talked to you about, that I felt like I could be really close to, I think they are one of the key reasons why I did that. And they came in different ways as well. And what I find really interesting in a place where I am is that you need lots of people, and different people give you different things, and actually all together, that's what makes something really powerful. So I remember one of my mentors, it was around my writing, and she was like, you're a good writer, you're just not confident, and you're a bit rough around the edges, but we can work that out. And so I remember one year my target was to look after this company's award entries for the whole year, and there was like 50 award entries. So I would have to work with various different members of the organization and say, oh, this project we're entering for an award, some sort, some industrial award of some description. And okay, so what's the objectives? What's the results? Why does it need to win? And therefore I would have to get all of that information and turn it into some really obviously interesting prose that had to suit a number of words, and so going through that process of editing, re-editing, getting more information, editing, re-editing, and then doing that about 50 times in that year, it was like she gave me the tools and the mechanics, and therefore the confidence to really craft that skill. So when I came under pressure, I could go back to, I've learned how to do this. I can pull this out of the bag. I know how to do this. And I have that mentor's voice in my mind constantly going through all of it. And she was, again, she would help me, but she would praise me and, tell you my worth and tell me the interesting ways that I was approaching the narrative and all of that really great stuff. But then I had another mentor who worked with me more on the strategic planning, joining the dots side of it, in terms of how everything all came together and gave me the creativity that's like, comms and marketing isn't about writing. It's about how you make people feel, and you can do that in so many different types of ways. And she helped me in a different type of way. And so actually, and I had very long relationships with these mentors as well. And I think those were probably the biggest unlock for me to get there. And so as I move forward in my career in terms of what I'm doing a little bit more training and more mentoring. And I now feel really purposeful now that I have a small team. So I feel that I can help them as well, because it's so important that you have this bigger work network, you know, or even mums, you know, I've got a really brilliant mum, I say mum club as well, that we are just, even this morning, one of my friends was like, oh, my son's woken up with this and I'm going to give him this. And do you think that that's all right? Should I send him to school? I think I should. And you just need a bit of reassurance and a bit of a, you know, follow your gut, you know, do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's something to be said for, you know, having that like courage within yourself, but there's something to be said for like, we're not meant to do this alone. I don't think we're meant to do most things alone. Like, we are social beings, right? We need other people, some people more than others, and depending on the situation, but like, how valuable that you have that team at work, that you have that team of mums, that club of mums, like that's amazing. And everybody brings something special to the table. Right.
Absolutely. And something that you just mentioned there in terms of courage, I think it's about not just courage, it's just about having more of the positive outlook to say, and some days you don't feel positive, and that's okay, right? Sometimes you want to just be like, this is not good. I was going to say that, but I thought I wouldn't. This is, and just, you just have to write it out. And the biggest thing for me is if you just have a washout, just accept that it's a washout on some things, and you might have to go and just process it and be like, I can't even bring my head around how I'm going to deal with this or whatever, but always come back to it and go, what did I learn from it? It's never a fail. It's this didn't work because, and then that because is what you learned from it. So therefore, in the hope to try and get that positive mindset out, to go, yes. I think the other thing as well is that I found that I really enjoy what I did. So it wasn't the case of I feel I'm really bad at this and I don't really like it. It was, I really feel like this is the place that I need to be living and working, and this is the right place for me. And so it felt like the working towards that self-acceptance and getting something better and feeling like you're doing something better and more purposeful, I think really helped as well.
And that's my next question for you, is this sort of journey that you've been on with your dyslexia through the years, does this feel like self-acceptance? Is it self-love? Is there an aspect of learning to love this part of yourself? Like, what does that feel like to you?
Yeah, and do you know what? I think that's a journey, because I that was probably something that I was thinking a lot about before I come on, is what is that self-love? And I think before you can even get to that love place, you have to accept. And then you have to utilize yourself in a way that's so carefree that you love everything that you do and that you are. Because if you can't accept it and move all those parts, and in my vision, because that's potentially how I feel and think about things, I just imagine somebody just dancing, regardless if you're on the beat, regardless if you know that you have accessibility problems or you're not hearing the music quite right or whatever it is, you can let yourself go in a way that is so carefree that you can love what you're doing and how it's making you feel, you know. And that for me feels like the journey that I'm on, and how I'm probably wanting to help others, and knowing that the value that I can bring with dyslexia is that I simplify things. That's my superpower. I can simplify things really easily. I can connect with people. I'm more empathetic because I've been on this sort of journey myself. I know how hard it is to learn something new. I'm really good at coming up with solutions for problems. I can join the dots on something really complex, but I probably didn't look into those powers, which are typical powers of dyslexia. So where I used to be I'm just not good enough. I'm not really specialized. Like if I look at my colleagues that are really good at writing press releases, or if I look at my colleagues who are really good at reporting, or if I look at my colleagues who are really good at this, I'm just not good at all of those. I'm not perfect at it. I'm that diamond in the rough. Why would they want to work with me? Or especially senior leaders as well, if they knew I was dyslexic, they wouldn't want me on their team, you know. And that is what I would drive for. Whereas now I've actually spent a lot of time looking into it and being like, well, actually, people with dyslexia are more entrepreneurial, they're more creative, they help people in a very different, more unique way. And I go, that's why I'm unique. And so how can I utilize that more to help other people in what I do? And then all of a sudden, I feel like I'm more confident in myself, because I'm a bit like, I can help people in a way that not many other people can.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden I go, I feel a bit special that I can do that, you know, because I never thought I was unique before. I was always the one that wasn't quite good enough.
Right.
Or I wasn't. Whereas now I'm like, I love teaching and I love people, and and actually I have this way of articulating it and helping people really get it, and that can really help them enhance themselves and them feel comfortable. And if they can feel confident, then wow, that's really powerful. But if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would have gone, I don't think I'm quite good enough.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating? Like, it's all just about the lens, and we get like, we have a choice to choose what lens we view things through. And I think when you are just stuck in something for a long time, you don't even realize that you have a choice, right? It's just that's the lens that you see yourself through every day. That's how it is. But over time, like you said, it was over time and working with different mentors and different things. And as you slowly worked through this, now it's like there's a whole different lens that you get to see both yourself and the world through.
Yeah, I completely agree. And just as you were talking then, I think one of the things that I've been very lucky for all of my life is that I have had a really supportive family. Like, I believe I've got 3 children, and I believe it takes a village to bring up a child. And I still rely on my family a lot. And so I think that they help me with how I see myself and how the sort of confidence that I've had just to pursue a journey, because it takes a lot of confidence for anybody just to follow the path, right? And I think as well, doing sport has helped me, encouraged me in terms of how I connect with people and what I do. But I know there's a lot of people out there that don't have that grounding. And I think trying to unpick that, and I'm not a psychologist or a counselor, and I'm not giving anybody necessarily advice, but I do think that taking time to unpick some of those foundations, if you're struggling to find that positive lens, is a good exercise to take. And where I've talked a lot about, work mentors or mum, my mum friends, I think just generally surrounding yourselves with positive people who genuinely want the best for you is probably as important. And that could be friends, family, could be your next door neighbor that you have a good relationship with. I think it's just as equally important.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. As your relationship with yourself, you called it a journey, like you're on this journey of learning to see yourself, see all these parts of you as like superpowers, right? Like these amazing things that you can do. As you've seen yourself differently, how have your relationships evolved? Like, do you find that they're deeper? Do you find that people are seeing you differently? Like what, and maybe not, maybe there is no difference, but I'm just curious if you've noticed a difference or not.
It's a really good question. I think that I've probably noticed a difference more with the people that I spend time with day to day. And more so in terms of, I probably don't see everybody that I used to day to day, but that could be a COVID related thing as well, to be perfectly honest. I'm also a lot more open to talk about our strengths and weaknesses and boundaries and how we feel about taking certain tasks that I probably wouldn't have been beforehand. But I think it's being welcomed. And I think the journey that I've taken is allowing me to talk a lot more about how I feel about things as well, and being a lot more open with that. And I think that's generally connecting with different people, rather than, because my journey has shifted. I've left the corporate world, and I'm still, I still do lots of projects with lots of people that I did before. But I think they are being more welcoming about it, whereas I'm being more upfront about it.
Yeah.
For me, it feels like I'm moving from things being very transactional to things being very meaningful, and that feels like the right place for me, because as I said before, I feel like everything's connected.
Yeah.
So, you know, what you do, how you make people feel, all of that stuff is sort of connected. And I think I'm probably more confident to go, this doesn't feel right for me, or I'm going to explore X, Y, and Z. And I can be quite upfront, not in a brutal way or anything harsh, but I feel like I can communicate that better. And I think people can understand me and accept that a lot more than probably beforehand, because they had a certain expectation of what I would do or say yes to and how I would work.
Yeah. 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 How has this journey of learning to love and accept yourself and your dyslexia impacted your journey to entrepreneurship? And tell us about your business now. What do you do? What do you offer? Like, give us the rundown, because I'm really,
Yeah.
I don't even know the answer. I'm really curious.
Oh, good. I would say it sparked it.
Yeah.
And that's been more from my research to know how many other entrepreneurs have dyslexia, actually. And it's given me more confidence, actually, that I can do what I want to do. And I have this, and I have a vision, and I can go after it, rather than going, that little girl who had dyslexia can't do this. Or you're trying to pretend or play, that imposter syndrome. And don't get me wrong, I still get it. It's still a roller coaster. And I don't believe that, oh yeah, I've accepted my dyslexia, so that's it. I'm still going to have days where I might, you know, make a bit of a mistake and go, oh, you know, and that's it. Or, you know, you're going to have times when I probably haven't had as much sleep, or I'm not doing as much exercise, and those more negative thoughts creep in. It just happens. But I feel like I've got my validation that I can do it, and I believe that I can do it and fulfill it. And I have been as well. Like, things are going well for the business. So as I said before, my business is Connected Comms Society. So we are what I would call a marketing communications hybrid. I believe that it's not just, you can't just promote your products to sell anymore. You have to do more than that. You really have to connect people. And so I put together the marketing and the communications, which is how you connect with people and engage with people. It's not just about connecting with your ideal clients. And the businesses we tend to work with are between about 15 and 50 employees who are growing. They tend to. And basically, it's about how do we connect the messages that you put out outside to what you do inside, and lining them up, because it grows your business. Because the marketing brings the revenue in. And if you create an amazing culture and you engage with communities in a purposeful way and your colleagues, it decreases your costs. So therefore, that's how you effectively grow your business. Whereas a lot of companies now look at social media and go, I just want a social media manager, but I don't know, I just want likes and follows, because that's a very short-term metric of success. We peel back the layers a little bit more, and we see, like, how do we align and become more authentic and purposeful within the organization. So that's what the organization does. But one of the things that I've started to do this year, as my journey progresses and as our company progresses, is actually help train some of them are VAs, some are social media managers, who actually want to become more experts in marketing communication, who they want to create a really good marketing strategic planning service, and they want to learn it in a sort of simple and effective way, in a safe sort of space and community where they can ask loads of questions. Like, I keep being asked what a strategy is. What is a strategy? How do I be more strategic? You know, even some of those questions as well. And you'll probably be not surprised to hear that I don't do it on my own. So we have a lot of other consultants as well who work with me. We all work together in one big society. And yeah, I try and facilitate the gap between businesses, people, learning, confidence, all of that really, really good stuff. Because, as I've probably said lots, but you have to say it 7 times in order for it to ring true. It is all connected. It is absolutely all connected.
It is all connected. That sounds amazing. And also, just from what you've mentioned about you and who you are and how you operate and how you love people and you love teams, like, could you be in any, like, I mean, obviously you made this business, like, you crafted this, but like, that is perfect for you. Like, perfect. Wow.
Yeah, as I said, and that's where I think that the acceptance with the self-love can really bring you through. And it's that I don't think I always think to myself, and when I'm having those, it's like I'm giving myself permission to be imperfect,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But the great thing is that how can I then put the milestones and the things in place that I can feel that I'm perfect in my own way,
Yeah.
and that I can really add value to other people in a way that feels right to me, and what I do, you know, and what I can bring. And I think everyone can have that. It's just finding it and accepting those bits and understanding what you need to do to overcome them,
Yeah.
even to the point whereby which so for example, for me, proofreading, sometimes if I'm really busy and I'd be like, oh God, I need to proofread this. I need to make sure. Like I learned very early on that I have like, if you use like a green bit of perspex, like a colored perspex, and you put it over the top of it, and I turn off everything and I do it first thing in the morning, I know that I can be brilliant at it. But it's just knowing those tools or support mechanisms that you can have that not just goes, I know I can overcome these weaknesses or these challenges that I'm seeing in myself, but I can feel good about them as well.
Yeah. 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 You don't just have to like put up with them or settle for them. You can feel good about them. Right. And there is a big difference between those, but it's part of the journey, right? You're not going to go from feeling awful to feeling amazing. It's on the spectrum. Yeah. 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 So, okay. So Louise, if there's someone listening who has dyslexia and who maybe is where you used to be, maybe doesn't want to tell people, is maybe feeling like there's something wrong with them, like it's holding them back, if they're still sort of in that space, is there one thing that you would recommend them, like a practice or an exercise or like a tip or something that you would recommend for them to sort of start with?
So, this sounds like a really boring one, but I think that the first thing that I would say is get information of how you can, of all of those different techniques and processes, because what worked for me won't work for everybody else. But unless you have all of that information, all of those different ideas, you can simply just trial them and just see what works for you. So that is my first thing, is that without the information and the education, you won't be able to move any further along that line. And I suppose the only other thing that I would say is be kind to yourself and allow yourself to learn and grow, because it won't happen overnight. Be patient. You know. Yeah.
And it's, you know, you said it's like sometimes the simple things, like you said, educate yourself, find information, be kind. It's like, that's where we need to start. It's like, you know, you could give all these crazy big things, but that's overwhelming, right? Like we need to start small, do your research, educate yourself, choose kindness, learn how to choose kindness, practice it. Right.
Absolutely. And you know, the internet has got some amazing things as well on there, and you know, on social media, and obviously don't just follow anything that you see on there, but at the same time there's lots of stuff that you can try it, see if it works for you, and it's okay if it doesn't. You just cross it off, go on to the next thing.
Keep going. Okay, Louise, if listeners want to get in touch with you, if they want to find out more about you or the work that you and your team do, where's the best place for them to do that?
Probably I would say, there's lots of different types of things to get now, isn't there? There's platforms, are plenty. So I'm on Instagram at Louise, I am Louise Harris, and I'm also on LinkedIn, Louise X Harris. And I've also got a free Facebook group as well, where I share just simple tips and things, which is called More Than Marketing. So those are probably the 3 best places to find me.
Amazing. And I'll make sure that the links to those are in the show notes, so it's nice and easy to find you. So Louise, as we're getting ready to wrap up, is there anything else that you feel called to share? You've shared a lot of your story, a lot of things that have worked for you, which has been amazing. And I'm just curious, I always like to ask, is there anything else on your heart that wants to come out today, or does this feel complete for you?
I've said it before, but I will say it again, is be patient with the journey, because I probably didn't realize I was on a journey until the last year or two.
Yeah.
As well. So let's, be patient and be kind. I think that's, for me, are the two sort of biggest things that I would probably like to push out there before we finish up.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that. Okay, let's finish on that note. Patience, kindness. Absolutely. I'm all for it. Thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, my pleasure. Like, I appreciate you sharing your story. It's like, it takes some vulnerability to come on here and, share a lot of personal stuff. And I appreciate you and your time and your energy. And yeah, thank you.
No, thank you.